I was listening to a podcast the other day, and in the podcast, it was saying, okay, so it said something, and it like triggered me, and then I thought, oh, like actually, I want to ask this question to Omar because I know I asked this question. So basically, the question in the podcast, he said that they were talking about like believing in yourself, and you know when you're achieving high things, like you know how do you believe in yourself or whatever. Anyway,
all the boring stuff.
All the boring stuff about believing in yourself. But then they said sometimes it takes for somebody else to believe in you, and if you don't believe in yourself, it takes somebody else to believe in you, and you just believe them. And kind of like byproduct of that is believing in yourself. And that triggered a thought of mine, which I ended up talking about outside the mosque yesterday, which I think Fawaz heard. I was speaking to some guy outside the mosque about it, but in high school, you have no knowledge of this story. I'm about to drop some new bombs to you.
Yeah. By the way, I love these things because even when we get together as siblings, like we did a few weeks ago, when our sister was in town, everyone's perspective of our upbringing and childhood is so interesting because you have different core memories than I have. And then when you mention it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, this one you won't remember anyway because you weren't there.
Okay, fine.
But that's a good point because I was listening to this psychologist who was saying that we recollect memories differently. Memories are actually subjective.
Emotions,
they're not objective. And so we remember things differently. The exact same experience, two people remember in different ways.
And also sometimes you tell yourself stories that you end up thinking that might have even happened.
Yeah, definitely. So what happened, bro, is I remember very clearly this moment, right? In high school, I think I was in like year 8 or year 9, and we had a supply teacher for maths because our maths teacher was off. And this guy had come from New Zealand. Oh, I did mention it to you yesterday, didn't I? Yeah. And I don't remember his name. I don't remember much about him. All I remember is that he'd get bullied by the kids in my class because they would say that he looks like a gerbil. And so all I remember him being called was Mr. Gerbil because that's what everybody would call him. And it was horrible, actually. Like I remember, I never like laughed at it or anything because obviously in UK, I don't know if they still do it, but we would call our teachers sir and madam in our class school anyway. How did you do it in your school? Was it the same?
Yeah, same sir.
What about a woman teacher?
No, not madam.
What would you say?
Miss.
Oh yeah. We would say madam. So anyway, we would all just call him sir, but I don't remember his name. Part of me hopes that he sees this and he's like, oh, that was me. Anyway, from what I remember, he ended up getting like leaving and going back to New Zealand because he was getting like just no kid respected him. He was getting bullied by the kids. Mr. Gerbil. He had like buck teeth, right? And
so you thought too.
So he ended up leaving. He ended up leaving basically. I think it was because of that.
Yeah.
One time in maths, I went on his last day. I was like just finishing something up, so it was only me left in the class. And he came and sat with me, bro. And he goes to me, Faisal, you always. I just want to leave you with one thing. He goes, you put your hand up and you keep asking questions and you keep asking for for affirmation or clarification that your answer is correct, because every time you ask, your answer is correct. You're always right. So you just need to believe in yourself a little bit more. Just like go with your gut, right? And it was such a fleeting conversation, but I remember that like a staple. Like if there was a movie about my life, that scene would have to be in it. And since that day, bro, I started believing in myself. Even now, a big 31 years old, I kind of believe in myself because Mr. Gerbil believed in me, right? Like I saw a man who's like having honest conversation, and that's what teachers should be like. Have honest conversation with me, be like, you need to start trusting yourself. Like why do you keep questioning yourself? You're right, just go for it.
And what a simple thing that even when you think about like just giving back people feedback like that, like, oh, that's a great question, you know, or you made my day. You know, just have a little bit of feedback. That why do we find that so hard sometimes to say? But it can really have a big impact on people, especially young kids.
Massive impact. Yeah. So that led me to thinking about you, right? Because I remember. So I think people don't know you as much as you might think they do. As in they know you, but as in don't know really like the Omar that we all know. Yeah, and that's someone who. So many memories, bro, about someone, but someone who like believes so much in yourself and your ability, and like, you got such a great amount of confidence, and your level of execution is insane. I got so many memories as a kid, like, you know, the one cool one again, which is that, you know, when we were teenagers, you were a designer by trade, I guess. Like freelance design, graphic design and stuff.
MySpace days or before.
MySpace days-ish. And you basically got in some way, shape, or form offered a contract or a job, and these guys were offering £8,000 a month. And that was that time where like we could really have done with that £8,000 a month. And even me saying that, like I'm saying we could have done with it. For some reason, I was like, Omar's getting this contract, we're getting this contract, like we could do with this money. And I remember you turning it down like without even thinking about it. Like when we told Dad, I remember being in the back of Dad's shop and you telling Dad about it and be like, I've got this job offer and I'm turning it down. Actually, one side reflection actually is how amazing is it that Dad didn't even bat an eyelid that you were turning down an £8,000 job at like 17 years old.
I was speaking recently to my wife about saying the same thing. Like now, even his, just kind of standing there and letting us figure things out, I value more now than I think I did in my 20s.
And by the way, £8,000 then would have been what? Like that was like 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So, that's like probably the equivalent of good, like 12, 13,000 maybe now. I always get clipped when I talk about, numbers. You're like, you don't know, like that's not how tax works. So I need to be careful. I think the most viral video on Fresh and Grounded is when like I talked about tax once. And I was like, I actually earn more money by working less days because of tax. People are like, that's not how this guy doesn't know anything. So I need to be careful. Anyway, I remember that memory, and what that memory taught me was that like self-belief. I was like, look, I know we could really do with this money as a family, but I really believe myself. I'm not going to work for someone, or I'm not going to take this money, or like I believe in this other thing. And I remember that again all the time, bro, like that self-belief. So I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Omar has that. Does his self-belief come purely from, after Allah, from like his own self-belief? Or do you believe in yourself because people believed in you? And it brings me all the way back to Mr. Steele.
Oh yeah.
Your form teacher in school.
That gave me shivers when you said that, but I agree with you.
Mr. Steele. He was your form tutor for how long? Was it just a year?
By the way, that's a great way to start a podcast. I think that was brilliant because you completely just spun my head there because I wasn't even thinking about that. But as soon as you said that, it hit an emotion, and I'm with that.
So for everybody else who isn't me and Omar listening to this right now, who doesn't know Mr. Steele was Omar's form tutor, and he used to tell everybody in the school, including me, including our siblings, he used to tell everybody, Omar's going to be the first British Asian Prime Minister of the UK, and he believed it.
He signed me up for like youth elections. Youth elections, helped me write speeches.
He was just his teacher, bro. He was like, you're a special kid, and you're gonna become Prime Minister. He would say that, and he would tell everybody. He wouldn't just tell him; he would tell everybody. The level of belief, and I don't know why, the level of belief he had in you was insane. What did that do to you? Did that have anything? Did that affect your self-belief positively in any way?
Absolutely. I think I was very lucky. First of all, Mum. First and foremost, and that's not even just a cliche thing to say, but if you think about even from young doing things like you kind of see it with our kids now, like she'll apply for get them to do artwork and then send it off to like the BBC or Blue Peter and get them a Blue Peter badge. She does that with them right now, and all our kind of kids have Blue Peter badges and Go Henry cards and stuff. And she's doing that as a grandmother for our kids. So I feel like I got a lot of that from Mum, just embracing that. I couldn't even know at the time it was creativity, but a lot of it was allowing me to sort of explore, and be curious. Whether it was using computer, and when we were using the computer, it wasn't a question of what we were doing, on the computer. I kind of was lucky to see Dad in his work environment. Sometimes it was creative, and I think Dad's a lot more creative than he's had the luxury to be able to execute. But I think he's got amazing creative skills, and I think I would see some of that as well. And on the technical side, and then we'd be able to have a computer at home and play around, and Mum would be okay with whatever we were doing. I was like writing scripts and doing random things that I would find interesting. Like I would watch a TV show and then I would think of a new episode for it and then go ahead and write a script for it. But sometimes that was just because I once came across, I saw how a script looked with the fonts, the monotype fonts, and I was like, I saw in Microsoft Word that they had that font in there. It was the Korea font. And I was like, that's cool. I could like write a script because I have the font. You know what I mean? So that makes it like look official, and that would like encourage me to then do good writing because I can make it look like a proper script. And I'd show Mum, and then she'd be really like, "Yo, this is so cool," and then I'd send it off to a competition. So that was like a good example of.
I remember when your script got read on. No, it didn't get read, did it?
They just said, "Yeah, okay."
BBC emailed you back,
BBC, yeah. I had so many. I've got a whole folder. I brought it here with me to Dubai as well. Like 3 folders of just things like that.
And you drew each character. Do you remember what was that show called?
I can't remember the character called Sanjay and something else. I basically just drew like cartoon characters.
So Omar wrote a script for a show, and he drew each character. And I think the idea was that it was like Asian representation, really, wasn't it? On TV.
Basically, it was like we need Asian cartoons.
And so all of the cartoon characters were brown, And so he drew each character, named them, wrote the script of the show, put it all in a letter and posted it to the BBC. And they actually responded. Like one of the head writers or something, BBC responded.
He was the head of
amazing.
Well,
like
head of programming, yeah.
You still got that letter?
I still got that. I posted it once on socials. They basically said, we love seeing ideas, especially from young people, blah, blah, blah. But, it was just like a really polite, thanks, but no thanks, can't run.
But it was personal.
Yeah.
And they wrote the name of the show that you said, and we like these characters and stuff like that.
I remember the character's name actually. The dad was called Papu, the mum was called Mimi, the daughter was called Layla, and the son was called Sanjay. And they were the 4 characters. It's crazy. I hadn't thought about that until you just mentioned it now, but I still remember the names.
I really want to remember the name of the show. It was The Something.
Oh, yeah, it was The Something. I need to pull it up. I'll maybe send you pictures after putting the video.
Yeah, fine.
But, I've got it here. I can't remember what it's called. But stuff like that was really cool, man. And then, by the way, when we started seeing things on TV, like the Kumars and all this type of stuff, it was more like, yay, you know what I mean? Like, it was really cool. Like, because we didn't necessarily, again, see that we watched things like Bernard's Watch or whatever, and it would be like, hey, where are we in this type of thing? So, but anyway, that aside, mum generally, I think, helped with a lot of that, hey, I believe in you. Then definitely in school, yes. Like, Mr. Steele was one good example. Even and he pushed me a lot into a lot of areas. So, for example, he would make me feel very comfortable about, kind of not feel weird at least, about sitting in the front of class, right? Like that's sort of a cliche thing, like, oh, you're a geek, you're sitting in the front of the class or whatever. And there was a lot of that, obviously, in high school, in the type of high school we went to. But for some reason, I never had that feeling of feeling like...
Oh, the high school where a student threw a chair and broke a teacher's arm.
Mental, like broken flipping doors and all sorts.
There's like a fight every day.
Every day, just coming in about...
Do you remember when the students did uprising against the teachers and all the students went to their playground and did like this uprising? Yeah.
I don't remember. So
and then like Mr. Daly single-handedly tore that whole thing down. He's like, and then he was like fighting students with bare hands.
I saw him in Sainsbury's once. I was like...
I saw him as
the Matrix. I was like, no. Like, as if he's supposed to live in his classroom. But yeah, so Mr. Steele was like one of those people that, even though in class, and this was another guy in my class, a guy called Danny, who was bullied quite a lot. And he felt an affinity to Mr. Steele as well, because for some reason, I don't know what it was, but I think those people who wanted to learn, he pulled them closer. And those that didn't, it's not like he didn't teach them, but it was almost like he didn't really try and pull them closer because they didn't want to. And it's funny because that's kind of like similar to how things are today for me. Even when, let's say I'm training, I have a trainer I'm working with right now, Ajmal. But really, it's like because he sees that drive and desire in me, it can help him do his job and he'll bring me closer and bring me close to my goal. And I found that a lot with my teacher at the time, that maybe I couldn't make sense of what it was. But that was definitely a large part of it. So he signed me up to Cine Club, which was like an after school filmmaking class, which then we did things with the BBC. Eventually,
then I signed up to it as well.
You signed up to it. We did things at the BFI.
When you left, because you were like the head of Cine Club.
Right, yeah.
Then when you left, I became the head.
Oh yeah, did you?
Yeah.
But who's it? Mr. Stevenson, I think it was?
Yeah, Mr. Stevenson, yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Daly was involved, I think, a little bit.
I had a lot of teachers believe in me by default because they believed in you.
No.
So I was like the Nepo child of the school.
Don't you tell
No, but it's true.
I think it's the reverse, because I think a lot of my confidence and charisma and those type of things that kind of brought me out of my shell, which took a long time to do, probably my late teens, came from watching you kind of be the showman, and kind of effortlessly just sort of flow through social circles and around different types of people. I would be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, actually, your friends were like, hey, how's you got so many different types of friends? You know what I mean? And that kind of gave me the confidence to be like, oh, maybe I can hang around with different people. So yeah, I think it goes both ways, man. But yeah, he was definitely a big part, absolutely.
So your self-belief does, the people around you growing up, having belief in you has benefited you in terms of your self-belief.
For sure. And then, by the way, I remember when, it kind of links to why I'm kind of passionate about showing people how to do AI right now, because it's not so much about the topic or the thing itself, but more so what it does for you to have some sort of skill that you can put you in a room with anyone, and it puts you in a certain kind of realm that they can't chat to in a way, right? And that for me, that was design, which was when I started designing, maybe when I was like 15, 16, I think everything's been a form of design, like even like script writing, whatever. But when I started really, doing like MySpace layouts and all these type of things, was my first kind of venture into designing. And I remember when I first built websites, and you remember that time I was 16, 17, and I kind of I remember even we started to get some clients, and these guys would be like pretty, successful, and maybe some of them were, in the entertainment industry and people would look up to, and they'll come to the office where I'm working, and they would see me on the computer working on Photoshop, and they would just give me compliments, and like at the time, really, for whatever reason, for me, it was like, this is so cool. Like they're just saying to me, like, how'd you do that? Or like I was doing something simple, like maybe just designing, a hero section. But at the time for them, it was like, oh, like we don't know anyone that web designs, this is so cool. And they'll just sit there and watch. And I think even being at 16, 17 and getting that type of like pat on the back, and people almost saying like, what, you built that? You're only 18. Like even them saying that to me was like, yeah, like I didn't know other 18-year-olds can't build a website type of thing, because I didn't have much, awareness of that. But from their world, where they are around people who, they're creating their own companies and doing such incredible things, in their world, they don't see that. So that kind of gave me this insight of, hold on a second, I might have access to a certain skill set that I'm not yet aware of what it is, but whatever this feeling is, I like it because it makes me feel like I've got something that's a little bit special and unique, and that I can be in a room with someone that even I look up to, but they'll have something to respect me for, and that gave me a bit of that. And where that links to the AI stuff now is, I think, for me, I see a lot of those parallels in the AI world, where people have the ability now, because it's such a big shift in the way you have to think and do things. If you can learn how to do these type of things, I see it with AI, and I've only just picked up the stuff in real time as it's been coming out. I didn't know about AI way in advance of, everyone else. It was, in fact, you were telling me about it even before I got into it, and I was like kind of pushing it away because I was busy with my business. And it turned out that it was the right thing to look at. And so when I did, that was another version of that. And that kind of pushed me further, where at the time when I was designing, I didn't necessarily understand it enough to say to everyone, hey, learn this some sort of skill that gives you this type of leverage in a way. But with AI, I think you can do that, because now if you look at a lot of, bigger CEOs of companies, and you don't have to go that high, you can even just go to people who are respectful in your own family or people in, your social circles. Everyone's curious about this thing, and to a lot of people this thing seems complex. And similar with web design at the time, or social media later on that we got into, felt complex. Podcasting looks complex, right, to the naked eye, or someone who at least doesn't understand it. And then when someone who has some information on it and can also execute it very well is in the room, first of all, they can respect that because it's a lane that like they don't really understand much and can't really comment on. But also you can add a lot of flavor to that conversation. You can also provide a valuable insight, such as building technology or designing things. It directly correlates to value for a business, right? And so people want to be close to that source in a way. And with AI, I think but like, on a whole different level. And I think that's the most interesting thing. So if you can find that and figure out just how like to systems think in a way and to break concepts down, you can sit in a room with anyone, and no matter, normally you'd be sitting in a room and be like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting with this person, I've got to sound smart. I've got to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But actually right now, if you just understand really the bare basics, most people don't even want to, especially people a little bit older, don't even want to try to learn this type of stuff, because it's almost like, it feels like another phase of learning, whereas you can come in and add that, flair to it. So I think that was like an interesting, pattern for me. And again, another source of confidence. And I want a lot of people to be able to do that now in this space, which is like, driving me a lot.
What is it that you're working on right now? Because it kind of started, even I can't keep up to date. And so I imagine other people are like, we get that you are doing some AI stuff, we're seeing your live streams, seeing your Instagram posts every now and again, but like we don't really get what it is that you're doing. And I think because you move so fast sometimes, what you've often lacked is clarity, right? Giving clarity to people because you're just like in your own lane. So this is your opportunity to give some clarity to the people.
I do agree with that though. It's funny because I sometimes feel like we're moving too slow. I really do, because we can't execute fast enough.
But you always know what you're doing more than anyone else, right? Like, because you're,
it's in your head.
Nobody is ever thinking about, everyone's busy thinking about themselves. So from what I saw, you started diving into AI. Well, it started kind of with automations and literally like sticking things together with Zapier, and then it just went into like more and more and more and building and more complex stuff. So then you started the school page where people can subscribe monthly, and then you basically are just building live and showing them what you're building, how you're building it, and they can learn all the stuff. This is from what I saw. Yeah. And that was called the 5-day sprint. But now the 5-day sprint is its own platform that's separate, but then you also still have the school.
Yeah, it's so
help me out here.
No, it's a great question. So ultimately, look, first of all, I would be building things anyway. I've always been building things, and so before this, it was even a community or me sharing things with people. The Guilty Chef has been a side project that I was just doing on Instagram, like cooking myself, like very physical, and then I built a website. And then I would hear about people talking about, SEO and like, how to actually rank websites in Google, all this type of stuff, which I became a little bit, fascinated by. And then more so curious about how AI, because really underneath all of that is really just code that's being written. It's something called schema, right? And so if every website has schema, which a majority of sites don't, because they don't really know what it is, and I didn't know at the time properly, if you just embed the right schema, it basically is an opportunity for Google to understand your site better and then be able to rank it well in Google. And so I tested it with Guilty Chef. This was like maybe early 2024. And then within a month, like just started shooting up like the rankings. And
pause there a second. As you were learning that, you through your generosity were like kind of like just texting me and teaching me, like, bro, like this thing is nuts. And at the time, I was head of marketing of Tertil. And as you were telling me, I was implementing it in Tertil. Wow. And bro, it was nuts, bro. We started getting stuff like, if you typed in 99 names of Allah on Google, which is such a common search, like Tertil will be at the top. Not only that, but then because we started implementing the Q&A schema and stuff like that, we'd be like the question and answer box of Google. So now when people ask the questions to Google, Tertil's answers would be at the top and it would link to the site and stuff like that. So that's an example of where you've learned something and then within like instantly you start seeing the results. And if you let it marinate for like 2 weeks, it gets even better and stronger. And so we just started implementing everywhere. Then you implemented the glossary. I was like, I was like, hey guys, I got this idea about the glossary. And we implemented the glossary and then the glossary just took off. So
you're that type of really one of the only people that I can just scream and shout about ideas to and be excited about, and like, I mean,
I could steal you. You could fine with me stealing them.
I'm totally fine with it. You're probably the only person that I'm like.
So you discovered. I just wanted to kind of add that thing in that when you were discovering this schema, and no, it's not just that you found schema. Is that you were also figuring out what was impressive about it is that you was figuring out a way where your automation would write the code for you and continuously update it and stuff, so you're always at the top of Google and stuff like that. So I'll let you carry on. I just wanted to add that point that I benefit
you're absolutely
from
right, man. I mean, look, I think I've always been obsessed with kind of connotations of words, right? So like, an example in this context is the word, I'd give us a basic example, the word, don't be silly. They might say to kids, for example, that's not necessarily bad. Like to be silly is actually a good thing, within the correct context. And so we don't want to, we program the wrong type of word sometimes. And I think lazy is another one. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily just bad to be lazy. I think actually being lazy in the right context is like just being quite smart. So for me, it was a version of that, which is if I can leverage AI to do a lot of things on autopilot, then first of all, I'm not having to spend on like agencies or learning things that I don't need to. And I can like kind of be lazy, but in a good way. Basically allowing me to actually be putting my effort into areas that I'm uniquely positioned to do, such as maybe the design, the experience, the marketing, all those type of things, storytelling, as opposed to like, more the mundane tasks underneath. And that's what AI is great at. And so figuring out really the main thing is one thing just saying, do it. The other thing is understanding how these things actually happen step by step. Like what is schema? How do you install it? What do you do? And to me, a lot of that stuff was just easy to understand because I've always been doing technical things for the last 15, 16 years. And then I kind of had that little bit of, headwind with Guilty Chef. And then I was like, okay, can I do this again? And then I was just brainstorming on my phone one evening, like what would be just really cool domains, to just have. And I wanted to really keyword target a domain because Guilty Chef worked really well. This a little bit of an insight into how my mind kind of works is like, it's a series of iterations. So, okay, we have guiltychef.com, had an SEO in, great. But actually the domain name guiltychef.com has nothing related to cooking apart from the word chef. But the way Google works is based on keywords. So imagine if I had a domain name called, bestrecipes.com. Like, well, people are always probably searching best chicken recipes or whatever it is. And that has a better chance of ranking. So what I'm trying to do is basically stack up my chances of success, right? So now I know how to do SEO schema, great. It's worked in a domain that isn't a keyword-rich domain, great. So what could happen if we had a keyword-rich domain? And so I started playing around. I was like, okay, well, based off this, Guilty Chef's effectively a directory. Let me now create a directory of maybe Dubai. And I just started keyword writing down names. Actually, the first name I wrote down was like, the word was best and it was like Dubai. But I just left them to the side because I was like, okay, well, of course, bestdubai.com won't be available. And so I was like, best restaurants Dubai, best this Dubai, best that Dubai. And I was getting some domains available and I was getting really excited about them. And then for some reason, I actually typed in bestdubai.com and it was available. And I was like, I didn't know if it was one of those things where it was like available, but you'd click on it and it's like make an offer. I clicked on it and it actually said add to cart, and I was like freaking out. So I text Safe, one of our friends, and I was like, Safe, this doesn't seem right. Like, what do you think? And he looked at it, he goes, bro, grab it. And he was the only person I told. I think I told you as well. And then I look, but the reason I made the decision is because then I looked at bestsaudi.com and other countries. Bestsaudi.com, even to this day, is going for like $100,000, the domain name. And Best Dubai was at like, I think it was around $1,000, about £700, which is a bargain in comparison. And considering how big it's the number one tourist destination too in the world. Snapped up the domain. And that became the next project, which was like, okay, now let's make a directory. That worked too. So now we have Guilty Chef working. The hypothesis was correct around the keyword. That started working. Took a little bit longer because of a very competitive landscape. But we started to overtake TripAdvisor, OpenTable, and all these type of things. I ended up actually speaking to and making connections with the chairman and founder of TripAdvisor because of it. And so it was very interesting just to see this. And then over the summer last year, a few of my friends like Kareem here and, Hanan, another one of our friends, who were just saying to me, hey, why don't you show people how to do this? And I never really thought of it. And you'd mentioned as well, like, this idea of a community. And I just started it. I put it up, posted on Instagram, and was basically like, if I'm building anyway, let me just show you what I'm doing. And the reason I was maybe closed off to it at the time was because when you do sometimes see course bros in brackets, it does feel very much like, oh, they're trying to sell me on something because that's how they're going to make money. But for me, I have the luxury of, well, I've already got businesses and stuff, so I'm not relying on a course to make me, or community to make me money, first of all. And second of all, actually the things I'm building also correlate to making money. Like, these are all marketing tactics, things you can build and do that would make you money. And so you're also able to actually see what I'm doing. And so the community built out, and it just started as a community. I would be sharing things as I built in Best Dubai, Guilty Chef. I was lucky to get on a few podcasts that were really popular in that tech space and in the US, which helped a lot. And then really the framework kind of part of it. So what was happening here is we're building a lot of projects with AI. And then over the summer, and I think you remember this in July when we were at Mum's house, every time you'd see me, I'd just be sitting in our sister's room just on the laptop.
Oh, this summer you were a horrible human, bro.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, you were, I mean, not bad character, but you were just on your laptop like 24/7.
So what happened is just before we went to London, I discovered Cursor.
Okay? Right, yeah.
So Cursor is basically a software you use to just create any type of website and application, right? But you connect an AI agent to it, such as Claude Code, which people might have heard of, and you just give it plain text instructions.
Do people call that Claude now?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
I feel like I've heard the term Claude
I think
a
some
few
people
times.
say it because that might be how you pronounce it in French.
Fine.
Claude. So I was playing around with it, and I was so mind blown that I don't even have.
You couldn't sleep, you couldn't eat. Yeah.
I spoke to Kareem.
With a freshly shaved bald head, which I said to him, I said, Kareem, grow your hair out.
Bro, I said to Kareem, I think I said to Kareem, so forget, correct me if I'm wrong, I was updating the whole time. I was like, the closest thing to being this mind blown, no joke, was my first child being born. Not even my second or third. You know what I mean? I was like, just the first, because that is like crazy. And this is the only thing that's ever come close in terms of the emotion I felt. So to then I went to London, and I couldn't get over what I discovered, because I was like, it's giving me chills right now, because I was like, why does everyone not know how to do this? What is it that's going on here? Because if all of you right now knew how to do this, you wouldn't even be sitting here right now. Like, I'm itching to, like, apart from this podcast, to always be sitting at my laptop building something, right? Because I feel this so mind-blowing and it's going to change everything for everyone. And so as I discovered that...
Do you still use Cursor?
Yeah, every day. But the thing that now the framework developed into, so why we created the 5-day sprint framework, was because actually there's a system and a process you have to go through, almost like stacking Lego bricks, on how to build. So like, what languages do we use, right? You hear all these things like Node.js and 3JS and all these technical terms that actually I don't even care much about, but you do have to know a little bit about which one to use. And so I basically created like a kind of a template structure.
And where's that on your school page?
On 5daysprint.com.
And that's your community?
And we create, but then they're connected.
Oh, fine, because then you also have a platform.
Yeah, it's all one thing now.
It's all one thing.
It's all one thing now.
You go to 5daysprint.com.
Yeah, but you can go to schools to actually go into the community, and basically it's like where the forum is, the post, they're connecting with everyone. But on the 5daysprint.com is where you go to set up your project. You create it gives you a one line that you just paste into Cursor. It's so simple. And basically your entire project just gets built for you and a scaffolding is made. And then you can just iterate on top of that. So the skills that we then teach is how to stack these Lego bricks. So if you want to build a form, okay, what is a form? What are the components of a form? It's this. Okay, how do you connect a form to do something when you press the button and then AI does something? I was on a call with a community member the other day and she was like, well, I have this idea where we can take, she works high up at Amazon, interestingly, and that's the other great thing about the community, by the way, is like how many amazing people there are in there from around the world that are doing such incredible jobs and are all here to learn AI and helping each other. And I was on a call with her, and she's based in Dubai, actually, not far from here. And she had this idea around compliance, taking documents, and she said it's very difficult to take a document and then meet all the compliance standards for the Middle East, you know, in Jordan, in Saudi, in Dubai for certain policies. She goes, I'd love to have a tool that does that. And literally, while we're speaking to her, what I just realizing more and more is like so much of the value is in understand how to break these complex so-called concepts into simpler tasks. So when I said to her, okay, well, this is a form. In the form, well, what fields would you need? Okay, we need an upload button for the document. Great. We then press this button and then we're going to have AI translate it. We need an API. We need to find a tool that does translation really well. Let's go and find that. And then those are the things that we do in the community. So basically we're equipping people to then have the skills to then go and build. And then now people are making money off the stuff. There's one guy got 2 projects he's selling. I think he's got a buyer already. People are seeing my projects work and the revenue and everything. So it's really fun, I think, just to put it all into one space to help people actually learn and build.
Kareem, is what you're building using the 5-day sprint? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love this feedback as well, man. I'm like, give me more feedback. Like, I'm just want it all the time, man. Yeah, but it's the most fascinating to me because I genuinely believe this. Like, such an important part of building, you know, I don't even see it as a business. And I think that's the most beautiful part of doing something that you really enjoy is you just care, you know, and I haven't felt that level of care really for any type of business I think that I've had before because I've done them and I've had a passion, I've had some sort of like insight I want to act upon, but this feels so true to the core of who I am. Like I'm a maker, I'm a creative, I like to build, you know, everything else is a byproduct, right? And even the people that we started to get involved in helping us shape the community are all people who think alike and build alike. And I enjoy that. So it feels like, you know, my people, you know, type of people that I get along with, that I want to see thrive. I can help them grow. We all help each other. I learn a ton of everyone else in the community. And it's almost like creating a space that I wanted to see as well, you know? So that's what feels so fulfilling about it.
What's exciting right now today about AI?
I think the most exciting thing that everyone should just be compelled by is the knowing that they are so capable to build things that they wouldn't even believe they could build.
Sorry, I might reframe my question. I'm not asking from a theoretical perspective. I'm asking from a granular perspective, like, you know, AI browsers or whatever. Right. What's exciting right now for you?
There's a lot happening obviously in video right now, which is really cool. Yeah.
What's like the leading video thing? I haven't played around video at all much. Saw a video.
Free Pick just announced this thing called, I think it's Canvas, I think it's called, and I think Canva released Affinity. There's a few different people doing things now and really like making the creative process a lot easier. So a bit imagine like a Zapier type workflow, but for like creating assets like videos and images. Mm-hmm. So things like that, which I find really interesting right now. I think that's pretty cool because, you know, before, even like with Midjourney, you kind of need to know how to write the right prompt. And now more of it's becoming like, because there's so many models. There's a Veo, there's a Midjourney, there's all these type of things. People are starting to create tools that can kind of make that a lot easier. So creative assets to be able to do marketing is becoming so much more easier now, which is interesting. I think genuinely like those are the area like the Canvas type, you know, interfaces where you can build out workflows. Still Zapier, N8N, all those type of things are really exciting. But it just depends what level you're at. But really, my personal opinion, nothing really touches the ability to learn how to build in Claude Code and Cursor. Yeah, that's my personal opinion of what's the best thing out there. Yeah,
well, you were playing around with Atlas like last week when they launched it. How did you find that?
I'm still using it, man. So I've been trying to like. I haven't actually had to try to use it. Like I've actually really enjoyed using it. I haven't used the AI side of things. I've been like experimenting with it a little bit. Like I open it up and I ask it a question. I did a live stream yesterday on my YouTube where I like used it a bit. I haven't felt like the real wow AI. This is such a cool browser. It kind of just feels like a normal browser in a lot of ways. So
I feel like right now your YouTube channel is like what you remember. Do you remember years ago you showed me Harvard Business School, and you're like, Faisal, look at this. I was like, what? You're like, there's this lecture by like this guy who, and he's speaking Harvard Business School, and he's like the guy who, I don't know, is like the co-founder of Airbnb, and he's got 300 views, and it's nuts. And Harvard are constantly uploading their lectures for free for anybody to view, but like nobody's viewing them. And I think I felt like that with Islamic lectures, that I really benefited from, where like some of the shuyukh were going through like really important books, and they shifted my life, bro, like these lectures, and they'd be like 700 views, videos, 1,000 views. Like, what? Like, everybody watching, like these deserve, and then you see other videos that get like, 500,000 views, and it's just like no way near as beneficial. So I feel like your YouTube channel currently is like that. Like people are probably sleeping on it a bit, not knowing how much value is behind them.
I think I think there's so many channels like that, by the way, like the Harvards and the channels you're speaking about out there. And what blessing it is to have access to this type of information right now.
Yeah, you know
what I mean?
It's unprecedented times, brother.
No, it's crazy. I love that though. Like, I'm always, this morning I was listening to, what was I listening to this morning? Bunch of things. I was listening to
Zohran Mamdani's victory speech.
Do you know what I think a channel like that is right now? Kai, have you heard of TBPN? I think it stands for Tech Bros Podcast Network, I think. But bro.
Oh, is that the one where you showed me with the...
Have you guys heard of it? See, this is crazy thing, because this will be like the equivalent of like saying 20 years, 15 years ago, whatever, have you heard of Joe Rogan? And if you said that right now, someone hadn't, you'd be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Is that the one with where they got the lower thirds and stuff that you were showing me?
These guys are killing it, man.
Yeah.
It's just these two guys just
really
sitting
good guys,
man, and they're just like, just really cool.
And who did they have on the other day?
They've got Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg.
Who did they have on like literally the other day?
Brian Chesky from...
Yeah, I think it's Brian Chesky that I was thinking
which was brilliant. Again, brilliant interview. But those guys are an example of that. They'll release a clip and it's done like 300 views, and you're like, but they still got like a Sam Altman on there.
Brian Chesky's got a really balanced view on data, which I like. Like, I thought you'd never ask. As a marketer, you like love data, but then you hate it at the same time, because it's like, okay, like data should dictate how you move as a company, but then sometimes it can be so limiting and make you like so stiff because you're only basing everything off data. But sometimes it's you should also listen to intuition. Like, I think the market could be going this way because of like, what I believe. And Ryan Chesky has a bit of both. He's like, data is really, really important, but it should never paralyze you. You should be able to still freely think and then have like hypotheses on just like thought and intuition. I think it was Ryan Chesky who has that.
No, he does. I think he got it from somewhere else as well. But yeah, man.
Especially the more corporate you go, the more like, and I guess you have to, because you're trying to appease investors and stuff and the board and quarterly findings and things like this. But the more corporate you go, the more heavily reliant upon data things are. But I think now that I think there's a shift happening because of like the Mr. Beasts in the world. Someone like Mr. Beast can come along and be like more powerful than a big corporation. Now the big corporations have to listen to it, and it's like, oh, how did Mr. Beast start doing so well? It's like data and vibes. Like he was like, oh, like these things do well, but also like actually,
Like I think you just can't beat someone who. And when you hear these cliches of like, work really hard and be obsessed or whatever, but it is effortless when that thing matters to you, like a Mr. Beast. Like he cares so much and loves what he does. You have to really care and love something more than him to even try and be in a conversation, which is very hard to do.
Steve Jobs said that, right?
Yeah, and you just can't outbeat that type of person. And so I think everyone has a duty to kind of find that for themselves in a way and believe it. I can't actually think of believe, like believe in that. Like, and yes, you need certain signals and you need to get wins along the way to make you feel that type of, I've got this kind of maybe a unique insight or whatever. But at the very least, like just by finding something like that and being obsessive, you're going to outbeat so many people that are not even trying,
By the way, this brings me back to the point that we made earlier about the £8,000 offer that you turned down and stuff like that. Because another conversation I remember with you very clearly, we were sat in your old office having this conversation. And it's about this thing, right? I'll tell you what the conversation was. The conversation was basically me and you having a chat, and I think I was stressed about something. And you said to me, Faisal, just remember that this thing that we're doing right now, well, I can't remember if we were talking about money or if we were talking about like feed towards the business or something, but you're like, it's just a vehicle. Never forgotten that conversation. I had that conversation with everybody. Investors at Fresh Uganda like, oh, what if podcasting goes out? No, podcasting is just a vehicle. It's not to say that we don't care about Fresh Uganda, but it's to say that Fresh Uganda can be something outside podcasting if you need to be. We have to be malleable. It's a vehicle right now that achieves our mission, right? But if podcasting died tomorrow, Fresh Uganda doesn't die tomorrow because the podcasting is just the vehicle. Fresh Uganda is the brand and the business and the mission. Okay, so what happens is quite often, people might go into something like marketing or graphic design or whatever, and then they label themselves as that thing and they forever stay in that thing. And nobody can really sincerely tell me, I don't think, that like my obsession and passion, and if I could do it for free, I would do it for free, is digital marketing or is graphic design. Sure, you can enjoy it and it's great to enjoy it, but like that's not who you are. And so I think like I always think back to you in those things, because in many ways, like you were doing graphic design and you were doing business, then you were like doing the like the kind of like Uber style business for feed source, and now AI. You could look at it and say, oh, you're so erratic with the kind of industries that you're in. But I actually look at it and say, well, you just never been slave to an industry, not even industry, but like you've never been slave to one vehicle. Your through line has been your personality, your consistency, your ethics, your morals, which is what everybody should be, your passions. But the actual vehicle actually should be changing. And I think it's actually sad that people at one point in their life will get their first job and it'll be in marketing or whatever, and it's like now that vehicle, they've taken that as if that's their through line, but actually it's not. That was just a vehicle. I remember when I left 13 and I had a bit of confusion of what I should be doing, one of the things I like automatically delved into was like, oh, like, well, I'm a digital marketer. I, was able to help a business go from X amount of million to X amount of million, and therefore that's my thing. I've now got the backing and the paper behind it to say like I was able to help achieve this, and so I could go into any industry now. And so then I started consulting in digital marketing. Started consulting a bit. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this. Why am I defining myself as a digital marketer? It's nice to always have that in my toolbox. I know that I have a really heavy, and bro, it's heavy bag of like marketing tools and expertise, and I can pull it out anytime I want and be like, hey, like the same tools and thinking that I used to like do this on a for 11 million users, I can do it, but I don't want that bag to be like the uniform that I wear all the time. I actually want the uniform that I want to wear all the time to be me, who I am, my personality, my morals, my ethics. They're the things I want to be my through line. And so so I think about you often when I think about that vehicle conversation. I think we should think about life more like that.
Absolutely.
So money is a perfect example for this. Right. Money is just a vehicle. Our goal should not be to achieve money. It's just the vehicle. And sometimes other vehicles can get us to the thing that at one point, like money may have got us to. And I think I see that like more and more in people. I like to extract that from people. I see in Suleiman, like Suleiman's someone who, bro, like I often get so inspired by watching someone and his passion for 2 for 2 and presenting and stuff like that, because he's someone who like last year didn't know that he could be on camera.
Yeah, no, you're great.
Right?
I love those clips.
Did you see the one, the horse ride yesterday? He was laughing, just trying to hilarious.
It's funny. It's like, this might be, I don't know if it's going to offend Johan, by the way, but like if I'm scrolling on the thing and you come up in the first shot, I always watch it. But then when Johan comes up, for some reason, like my mind just like sees Suleiman's face and I just get happy and I'm watching the clip. I don't watch it as much as I see Johan come out. There's nothing against Johan. It's just I just love seeing you on the screen.
But what I get so inspired seeing Suleiman doing is, here's a guy who last year was chauffeur driving around London, potentially not knowing his passion, but definitely had like this spark or this keen thing to like, I want to try and achieve my passion. I don't want to like do this all my life. I'm keen to try it and figure out what my passion is. Comes here, has an open mind, which I think is very difficult. I struggle with open mind. Everybody knows that. Kareem said to me the other day, he's like, I really one day want to delve into your challenges with change. And like, he's like telling me about Affinity, and he's like, bro, like you don't need Adobe anymore, stuff like that. I was like, oh, sick. And he's like, yeah, so I'm just thinking we can cancel Adobe.
Look, I'm gonna say for the record, I know you already know this, but listen to Kareem and is one of the most has had the most transformational impact in my life.
Oh, it's the highest ROI I think you could do. So anyway, he was like, we should cancel our Adobe. You should cancel your Adobe subscription because we've got Affinity now. And I said to him, whoa. I was like, bro, I'm all for this conversation about Affinity and how this like, but I'm not cancelling my Adobe. And he's like, I've really delved into your problem with change. Anyway, open to change, right? But so really brought Suleiman in and was like, well, you're going to start editing. We're going to like try out some shows. And then he jumped on camera and hadn't done it before. And I think previously he tried creating content, was like, no, it's not for me. It's a little bit odd. I don't know. And bro, now with 2 for 2, he's just and you see the passion. He's just flying with it. You see the passion, and you see it so natural. And you see, oh my gosh, that's like, it's so hard to come up. But when you catch someone and you find their passion, you're like, whoa, I found somebody's passion.
Do you feel that? Do you ever notice something in yourself
Yeah,
change.
definitely. Like I never ever thought like this is the lane that I would go down. So like you said, when I came, I was a bit open-minded. Let me see if it's gonna work. Let me see what I could do with it. And then I really enjoy it. It's the first thing, you know, when they say you should work with something you enjoy. I've never understood that because I've never enjoyed anything I've worked with. I just done it for the sake of earning money. So here it's like, I really enjoy it. So
What have you felt inside though? Like what have you noticed yourself like being more excited about things, like being more creative, like having ideas? Like, is that anything like profoundly different?
Yeah, when like to answer that question is on the weekend I work. That's how I know.
Nice.
I like that feeling inside. Like I want to try this. So on Monday when I go to work, I'm already a head start. So I want to try like color grading this or stuff like that. So yeah, that's what made me feel like
amazing.
I really
Mashallah.
enjoy it.
I love that. Sick.
Yeah, man, I think it's a disservice to yourself, anybody, if you don't try and just constantly find your passion. I think passion is agnostic to job. You can still be in job, find your passion, and then work that into your job or your life, or you don't have to make big life changes. I think it's just so important to find like what you truly love and are passionate about. I think to do that, you have to remove all of your self-labels. I had a conversation with Kareem years ago, bro, at Officially Grounded, and we were like having a discussion. He like, and I really am so grateful to him for this conversation. He said to me, can you, like, when we have a conversation, just like, don't add a label to me because I don't like thinking in labels. And it's the first time I'd heard that. I was like, oh my gosh, like, potentially, like maybe I'm doing that to myself. And so I think you have to remove the label of founder, marketer, product guy, content guy, and just remove all those labels and then be like, what are feelings that I feel? When do I feel the most passionate? When do I feel the most excited? And when we did that exercise with Cream, I was like, oh, I'd have like, maybe it's like, and it doesn't have to be monetized, but I like connecting with people, conversating with people. Okay, how can you work that into thing? Maybe like we're putting your efforts here when it's like you could actually be more on the field, like connecting with people, because you could just like pass your energy and get energy and give energy. And now all of a sudden, playing paddle has become a business experience. No joking. But do you know what I mean? Whatever. But just to be completely open, a paddle has not been a business expense, unfortunately. But yeah, I think you should find your passion.
No, I mean, I think on a broader level, on the label, I'll come to label things in a minute. Remember me to touch on labels in a second.
I will remember you to touch on labels.
I will forget and I will end up in a different universe. First of all, I think narratives and stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and why we tell them to ourselves are so important to get in touch with as soon as we can. And I'll say that for a few reasons. First of all, a lot of things and decisions that we make in life and that end up being heavy year-long decisions, such as it could be being, you know, again, not on any judgment, but it could be sometimes being stuck in a certain position, a role, a type of company, a career trajectory, whatever it is, that you know doesn't connect you at all, but there are so many outside influences that for unnecessary reasons mean something to you, right? And that's more of like you having to get out of that way in a sense. Like, you know, it could be the common ones, you know, cultural, you know, type of just judgments, you know, family, you know, what people are going to think, what people are going to say, all these type of things. And sometimes we put that upon ourselves. And that really robs us from a lot of life, you know, and a lot of ability to find those type of things that we should be finding. And I think you have to get to you have to, first of all, be highly curious of life in itself, right? Like it can, if you look at so many successful people, by the way, they become successful very late in their lives, like in their 40s, 45, 50. You know, you can take obvious examples of like people in the entertainment industry. We often reference Kevin Hart as an example, right? Like
Duncan Bannatyne comes to mind.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He had an ice cream truck at 30 years old.
A lot of people like this. And I think you have to be able to look at, I was listening to Brian Redband speak yesterday on a podcast. So he's like nearly 60 years old, you know?
Is he?
Yeah, but when he might have been like 35, 36 when the Joe Rogan podcast started, and he was just like filming on a mini DV, you know? And then he's had success with that and Kill Tony, all these type of things. But again, just, I think first of all, the bigger point here is that if you allow yourself to, first of all, understand that you're going to figure life out, but you have to be able to always adapt, iterate, tweak, and then just check in with yourself. How do I feel about this specific thing right now? How is, you know, am I responding to maybe how someone wants me to react or what they're wanting from me or what's, you know, people are going to think or anything like that? as opposed to what's actually good for me. What do I want to get closer to? And I think you find a natural path just by doing that. And I felt a lot more of that recently because I feel a lot of my 20s and even like maybe even until a few years ago, I would care a lot more. And that's what maybe I think some projects and things I was doing, I would drag them out further than they need to be done because I could tell myself I could say, yeah, I'm self-aware. No, I know like I'll be able to tell if this thing isn't working or whatever, but like all the signs are there and I'm choosing to ignore them. And when I actually look back on it, I don't know why. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was like a pride of it's hard for me to say if this thing didn't work or whatever else. But that's kind of why I feel more comfortable in even reflecting on those things now because I found the thing I think that connects to who I am that it is me, you know, be able to make and create things is always being me. I just haven't been able to find a way to connect that to a narrative in terms of the work and stuff I'm doing. And it's kind of been within the stuff I'm doing. So even with Feed Source, it was like, yeah, the aspect of the project we're doing or the industry we're in, I don't know anything per se about e-commerce or product photography or photography at all. Like it's not my thing. But understanding how my real curiosity was, could we build a scalable tech product?
It's interesting how you never let that stop you. You could even argue that with this AI world, you could have lost this battle mentally way before you started by saying, well, I'm not a developer. Right. There's developers out there who can actually, the likes of people who work for OpenAI who are getting on these $1 million a year salaries, who can actually develop AI and who can code. And that's not even... That seems like it's not even a thought that's crossed your mind, like this imposter syndrome thing.
Well, I think because again, I explained to you about the London thing. Like just before London, when I had that mind-blowing moment, I had never understood engineering on that level. I genuinely didn't. I've understood it from it's boxes inside boxes and how pages are structured. We've been building technology for so long. I've had like chief technical officers and people we've like brought in, very talented people that I've been able to see the inner workings of. And even with that level of visibility and the type of tech companies we've even collaborated with and partnered with, there's so much that I've been lucky to see, but still has never clocked to me until I used AI inside a tool like Cursor. And then I realized, whoa, this is insane. This is literally why I was stuck every single day in our London trip working. Like I couldn't stop.
But why don't
working.
you get imposter syndrome?
First of all,
you seem to have this good balance of like not having imposter syndrome, but then also not having ego. It's like the perfect balance. You just do not care.
I do get. I definitely get imposter syndrome. I do care, but I use a lot of it. A lot of times, things like that as fuel, I suppose, because it's a good question. I think I probably was bothered before. I do feel myself not being as bothered as much now, but I think it's a very recent thing. But I think I get a lot of that because I get so much fulfillment outside of like opinions or public stuff.
You're usually excited by what you're building. It's like, I don't care if this impresses people or not. It impresses me.
And also, it's like I think we spoke about before, not to quote the famous Jay-Z quote, but put me anywhere on God's green earth, I'll triple my worth type of mindset, right? Which is, I've got my laptop, I'm fine. You know, I don't care. You don't have to like me. You don't have to get along with me. I don't need a friendship. You know what I mean? My friend is my computer right now. And I'm happy with that. I've got my kids. I've got my wife. I've got my immediate family. I'm actually very, alhamdulillah, happy with that because it's such a pure feeling of love and joy that I get from every single hour of my day.
And then when you want to clock out, you cook.
Yeah, I can, that's another part of the thing that gives me joy. And so actually, first of all, that's why it's very easy for me to just remove myself from situations that I don't feel interested in engaging with. Like even something...
Yeah, it's like you're stressed, like, give me some ingredients. I need to cook right now.
Just to be able to de-stress. But also, by the way, like business-wise, I come back to your point earlier with like monetary things. It's if I look at the thing and it's like, okay, that just feels I'm more headed. We got an email last week for a Fortune 50 company. Yeah, that we've done some work with before. They hit me up last week and they want to have a meeting. I still haven't replied to the email. Yeah, and that's a lot of money. That could definitely be a valuable thing. But when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to miss having fun on Cursor because I'm going to do some other stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's a conundrum of obviously, and I'm not trying to be like, just stupid about it, but also I just have to go with the things that excite me and interest me. And they do have a byproduct of success in some format.
They're the long term, that's the long-term play. And, and I was talking recently about this book that I'm reading right now called The Art of Spending Money. Yeah. And it relates spending money to food, right? And it says like you want to have you don't have junk food, you want to have nutritious food. It's long-term, there's long-term benefits in it. And like that, you don't want to, you can look at spending money like junk food. Like you can buy something that gives you a little bit of dopamine, but it's like short-term dopamine, and then actually you regret it after. Actually you want to spend your money nutritiously. And that means different things to different people.
That's good
For
analogy.
you, that might be buying something that other people seem as extravagant because it's subjective, and that's fine because it's nutritious for you. So for someone to buy like a really nice car might be a nutritious spend. For me, it wouldn't, because actually a really nice expensive car for me probably like isn't what gives me as much money. I probably would be doing it more so for the idea of like being the guy who has the car, and that's not like nutritious. And so I think like that, when you talk about, you can also relate that to how you spend your time. And you could spend your time, yes, doing that contract with a Fortune 50 company, and it will be a good set hit on something like financial, for example. But actually the nutritious way for you to spend your time would be to sit on your laptop by yourself.
And part of that nutritious kind of mindset is the real things in life that we all obviously know and are ingrained with, but for some reason as humans we almost like, you know, steer away from them. All the natural things that give us a buzz, right? Working out, you know, waking up early, having meaningful relationships, which seems a bit loaded, but it's just a matter of actually, it's just about caring about the people you interact with. As simple as that. Attention, you know, which all these things feed you back. To give someone your undivided attention and to listen and to eye contact, all these type of things give you food for your soul, you know, like waking up in the morning, like even having some mind space, working out, the dopamine and all that type of stuff you get from that. Sprinting, like things like sprinting. I've said this a few times, but I heard a quote when I first moved to Dubai, which said most men never sprint after the age of 30, and it's very true. You just don't. Like, when do you ever need to sprint again? And similarly,
and you mean physically sprint, as in like running, sprinting?
Yeah, you don't. And similarly that has such a big impact on your body. And similarly, I
actually don't remember the last time I sprinted.
And similarly, you know, you sprint all the time with paddle now.
It wasn't sprinting like.
I know what you mean. So football has done that for me, at least. And I know Kaya, you'd probably agree that the Sunday, you know what I mean? It's like
Kaya loves football.
Yeah. Man, like the get into that Sunday game, the feeling I get. Like on Mondays, I'm like exhausted, but I'm okay with that exhaustion because it's like it's a good type of like, you know, again, food I'm being fed. But something akin to that for me on the nutritious topic was this feeling of feeling like a kid again, right? Which again, I think is robbed of us a lot as we become adults, because things that we know to be true are we're gonna have responsibilities. You can't, especially as, first of all, as men at the very least, yeah, you have responsibilities to provide and protect for your family. You have to go out in the big wide world and make money. You have to try and be independent. You have to think independently. You have to be able to make completely unemotional decisions at times. You have to train your brain, wire you this monkey brain to be productive, to actually get things done. But at the same time as doing all that, what happens is there is a level of pressure that gets created in doing that. And that pressure, you can either let it consume you and actually like push you down, or you can find a way to actually feed it to help you alleviate that pressure. So all these good things I'm speaking about that feed you well help alleviate that pressure and make those things that are going to be constants anyway feel a little bit easier and actually enjoyable. And I think one of the other kind of nutritious elements you can add to that is making yourself feel like a kid again. And for me, building and creating is literally the feeling of being in the corner, playing with my Legos, writing that script when I was a kid, playing on the computer, whatever it is, because there were no pressures there and there's no one wanting anything for me. The only thing I'm gonna be called for is like mum saying, hey, dinner's ready, and going downstairs, you know, which were a luxury to only have that pressure. But I remember the feeling of joy in creating something. And with all the responsibilities and things that I have now as a parent, a husband, all these type of things, I want to protect that space that makes me feel like a kid and gives me absolute joy. And I also want everyone to feel that. And I think people that know that feeling, especially as a creative, when you get to build something and you create something, there's a tension within yourself and you're trying to figure something out. You can try and get close to it, a bit like, you know, the feeling that Suleiman's speaking about. And when you feel it, it's just so undeniable and so gratifying and so addictive that if you can keep doing that thing all of the time, and it can help you some way, you know, provide a living for yourself and your family, what a beautiful balance, you know. And then really does become easy to push away anything that goes against that. So whether it's relationships, your people, environments, habits, conversations, business type deals, whatever, it becomes so easy because in your mind, those feelings that you're getting that are so, like you're saying, nutritious for you are just hard to come by anywhere else,
Yeah, people forget to become to have childlike curiosity, which you talk about often. Like you have to maintain that
because you're just throwing information at you, and like how I feel this all the time, man. Like just sitting there, and then especially on days when I go to the gym, by the way, because the gym gives me a huge sense of like this is floating. Like kind of feeling of, okay, I can take on the day with extreme level of focus and I'm almost like floating through a day. It's a very like strange phenomena that I've only recently experienced by training the way I'm training. And part of that is as soon as I counter that with like, I'll go on my phone and I scroll a little bit, I literally want to throw my phone in the bin. Because I'm just being told, like my brain is in a state where it actually wants me to use my own mind. In that state, it wants me to be creative, wants me to think for myself. And I'm then like forcing myself to be fed something that's being told to me or someone else's agenda or whatever. And that bothers me sometimes. So I try to use more of these things for creative purposes.
There's something that I want to read you. But it kind of based on the story, but I'm gonna let Ibrahim ask you some question first, and then I'll come back to you with these things.
I guess one of the questions that stands out to me, Omar, especially with what you're doing right now and what you're focusing on with the AI space, because I'm someone who's always been heavily into tech as well, whether it's software, hardware, whatever it might be, and trying to kind of have a fusion between that and like I guess my also enjoyment for marketing side and kind of combining the two. How does one, because I think one of the most common things that people say, whether I speak to them or even how I feel, how does one deal with the overwhelm of a different tool coming out every day, AI integration here, AI integration there, this tool, no, this software, no, you know what I mean? Like there's just something new every day now. It's so fast changing. How would you, someone who's now kind of directly focusing in that space, kind of put all that together into a clear focus where it's like, okay, focus on these certain areas first before you start getting overwhelmed with everything that's coming into you?
That's such a good question. I struggle with that, to be honest, man. I have someone I work with helping me run the community, a gentleman called Oliver, who's brilliant. And he's 24 years old, and he's just up to date with every single trend and movement. And I'm waking up in the morning and there's announcements happen, like we say, the Adobe announcements, send them to me. And I actually feel that. I'm like, I'm trying to focus on something this week. I can't even get my head around it, but it's also exciting. So I totally get it. I actually don't have a perfect answer because I struggle with the same thing sometimes. And I think that's kind of, it's going to be an interesting new normal because the rate of product change, like we were used to maybe an iPhone a year, right? Yeah. And even then it was like, was it a big change? That was kind of our cadence. And now it's become like 3 times a week, something new coming out from every big company in the world. So I think that might be a muscle that maybe we have to develop a little bit. But a lot of it I'd put down to definitely, again, having to build your own focus in a way. And that's how I try to deal with this a little bit. In my week, something I've been saying a lot recently with people I've been working with is on a Monday, we never know what's going to happen by Friday, right? And what that means is, and I think it's just sort of, ironic that we also have the 5-day sprint and I'm kind of thinking in 5 days at a time because so many outcomes have happened by the end of the week that I just haven't predicted at the start of the week. But at the start of the week, it started with some sort of focus, right? Like here's a feature that we want to ship. Here's something that I want to get out there. In 5 days, the world isn't going to change that dramatically that thing's going to become obsolete. So you can pick your weapon of choice that week. So for me, it might be, hey, I'm using Claude Code. Like last week, for example, we started building a support system and a way for people to upvote things in the community. And that became the project for the week. And I try to use speed to be able to execute fast enough that if I do take 6 months to release something, maybe I am moving too slow and things are going to come in the way. But in 1 week, these announcements aren't going to affect me too much. But also then I've put something out there, I've been able to be focused and I've got that win. Now, the other thing is if it so happened that something else came in that I could have used to build this that might have been better, it's only really cost me a few days. Yeah. So I think it's really important to first of all have focus and then move at a rapid speed where even if something does change in the landscape, the cost isn't so heavy that it's gonna throw you off. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Do you think also back to the point that you and Faisal were talking about with the whole not staying in one vehicle and that you've done, you've kind of moved a few times with kind of what you're focusing on and being versatile. Do you think
having a personal brand these days is probably very important to be able to give you that flexibility, because I feel like, I mean, from my perspective and what I'm trying to do even for myself, it's like when you build your personal brand, you kind of get people to buy into you and what your mission is rather than what you're just known for.
Yeah.
And I feel like that then allows me to be flexible with whether in the future I want to focus on marketing or something else. But as long as I'm building my Ibrahim brand, it's like people are bought into the personality and they're kind of willing to kind of see document your journey, essentially, as they say, and they're willing to move in that vehicle with you. Do you feel that that's the case?
That key word there and what you were saying is personality.
Yeah.
I think, the personal brand has a lot of, fluff around it, which sometimes forces people to look at their personal brand themselves as sometimes a caricature. And I think as a personal brand, we're not in WWE, you don't have to create character. You are trying to tell a story, yes, but also it has to be very authentic based on who you actually are, which I think, I felt a lot comfortable with even recently when I share things about vulnerabilities. There was a time when I used to feel like, oh, we've got a new office, or we've just upgraded this. And it felt like I have to tell that story to show people that I'm leveling up. Yeah. Whereas now I've got more comfortable with the fact that if I'm leveling up mentally and in the things I'm executing, it's actually more of a flex to do it with minimal resources. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I'm kind of shifting my mindset a little bit of that makes me be a little bit more raw and honest to my truth, which also then helps a personal brand, because that is a truth. Sometimes I'll be sharing something because I feel that's what the story of Omar's arc should tell. But actually behind closed doors, Kareem's been there, I've been in the office and I'm having a breakdown because I'm really not enjoying this or I'm struggling or whatever, but I can't go on camera and say that because it'll make me look weak or whatever. But now I don't care so much because I also know that everyone feels it. It's whatever you're feeling right now as someone trying to create their thing is a curiosity that everyone's going to have. Even Oliver, I just explained to you, he explained to me very early on us working together, hey, these are my ambitions. This is what I want to go. And I want to know his ambitions. I'm not trying to create something which is no, you're only ever going to think like me and work with me and be, no, I want him to grow and become everything he wants to become. And I think it'll be awesome to play a part in that journey. But the more authentic and truthful he can be to me, and also in sharing his story, the greater success you'll have all around. Yeah. I think the same thing for you. It's then what happens is then people connect to that and that becomes who you are. And it should be who you are because that is who you are. The reason, a good way of thinking of it is the reasons your wife loves you, right? Flaws and all. There's still someone out there who thinks that you are the best person for them to have around them, and sometimes we think that we're not good enough for the world. But actually, that's the beauty of having a spouse is that they already show you that you are good enough. We just have to accept all the areas around us because they see the most flawed side of us, yet we're trying to paint this perfect arc for our personal brand, so to speak. So
I think people are relating to that raw, relatable footage more as well now on brands. And you see that even with people are now shifting back from consuming highly edited footage and content to now they actually the unedited YouTube tutorials or the Instagram documenting what I'm doing right now. People are actually going more towards that direction, I feel, as consumers and as brands, rather than that fancy edits and stuff that they used to have maybe a couple of years ago.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. But I think that's all again, kind of breaking the fourth wall, the same way comedians do, which is we're all human at the end of the day. We bleed the same, we have the same behaviors. And when you connect on that level, it's kind of a breath of fresh air in a way, which is really nice to see. It's actually, I think, the most motivational thing, when people see that type of stuff, that we all just the act of doing and taking shots is respectable by itself. And so if you're just showing people that you're doing that, so what it looks like. I did worry a lot, but when I a lot of this sort of AI transition, some of it was a bit or do people know me as the guy who runs FeedSource? Or I used to tell Kareem, I used to care about the title of CEO or founder. Couldn't give two monkeys now. I don't care what I'm called. I literally, my bio in my community just says I make. I just like creating, that's it. And that makes me so happy to just say that I'm just someone who likes making things. I don't even know what that means. I don't know where I know I can be valuable in a boardroom. I know I can sell. I know I can market. I know I can write adverts. There's so many things that I know I can do. But they all come into this one thing of just me as a person being connected to making things. And that's my personality. And that's all I want to share,
That's sick. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's actually a very good transition because I wanted to read you some stuff some writings that I found that I thought you would relate to. And one is, this first one is actually based on what you're saying, the idea behind it really is just to do something and to keep doing things and to not be paralyzed by the idea that if you start, you have to know your end goal or that you have to have perfection straight away. But it's like you said you first built Guilty Chef, then you went, like what if there's a domain that is searchable, let me do that. And then it's like, okay, and that's the framework. And so it's actually a piece of writing by Vincent van Gogh, nonetheless. And he says, he wrote something, I saved it ages ago. I don't know when I saved it. At least a month or a few months ago or something. But he writes the following. He says, I tell you, if one wants to be active, one mustn't be afraid to do something wrong sometimes. Not afraid to lapse into some mistakes. To be good, many people think that they'll achieve it by doing no harm, and that's a lie. And you said yourself in the past that it was a lie. That leads to stagnation, to mediocrity. Just slap something on it when you see a blank canvas staring at you with a sort of imbecility. You don't know how paralyzing it is, that stare from a blank canvas that says to the painter, you can't do anything. The canvas has an idiotic stare and mesmerizes some painters so that they turn them into idiots themselves. Many painters are afraid of the blank canvas, but the blank canvas is afraid of the truly passionate painter who dares and who has once broken the spell of you can't. Life itself, likewise, always turns towards one an indefinitely meaningless, discouraging, dispiriting, there's words here that I can't read, blank side on which there's nothing, any more than a blank canvas. But however meaningless and vain, however dead life appears, the man of faith, of energy, of warmth, and who knows something, doesn't let himself be fobbed off like that. He steps in and does something and hangs on to that.
Absolutely. I resonate with that so much.
Yeah.
What did you get from that?
I got from that the importance of moving and not being paralyzed by like this fear of like the end result.
Can you relate to an actual physical, like he's bringing up painting? Do you have a version of that in your like canvas and the doing in your world? I
can actually plug this in to anything. If I plug it into my tertile brain, I look at it as okay, like, wow, like head of marketing of this big tech company, Silicon Valley, like I've not really delved into that world. And it's like, well, let me start and let me find my way. Or if I look at Fresh Uganda, it's like, we don't know the end result. We don't know which way it's going to go and things like that. So I think it's always a case of like, I like being on the move. I don't like being stagnant. That's what for me it was.
No, I think you're right. It is true though. It's profound because it's like, way before our time, and it still rings true today, which shows just how human the act of iteration is, just starting the thing. Kareem, this feels similar to a conversation we were having the other day, right? Is Kareem here? Yeah, remember the design thing we were talking about? Which is just like to splash something on it, And
Kareem always talks about this concept.
I remember we were sitting together and we was riffing on ideas. I just grabbed his laptop and we just started like tweaking around. Bro, I was just by starting and seeing something mold, it's like you never have the perfect idea. And actually over time you build your palette and your taste a little bit where you can start to envision something, but you still don't ever know until you just do it.
It's actually, the Stoics say that the path becomes clearer as you walk it.
Absolutely.
So it's like you got to start walking it. All right, there's two other quotes. So admittedly, these are like old historical quotes that like, but I just find them interesting. Okay, so there's a shorter one and a long one. So I'll give you the short one first. I think the short one relates to you. But the other one too, but anyway, I'll start with this one. It says, no one can build you the bridge on which you and only you must cross in the river of life. There may be countless trails who would gladly carry you across, but only at the price of pawning and foregoing yourself. There is one path in the world that none can walk but you. Where does it lead? Don't ask, walk. It's kind of the same kind of concept. This one I really like, this long one, right? I feel like it relates to me. I hope it relates to you in some way. I think it does actually. I'll just read it. It says, don't be amazed if you see my eyes always wandering. In fact, this is my way of reading, and it is only in this way that reading proves fruitful for me. If a book truly interests me, I cannot follow it for more than a few lines before my mind, having seized on a thought that the text suggests to it, having seized on a thought that the text suggests to it, or a feeling or question or an image goes off on a tangent and springs from thought to thought, from image to image, in an itinerary of reasonings and fantasies that I feel the need to pursue to the end, moving away from the book until I have lost sight of it. The stimulus of reading is indispensable to me, and of meaty reading, even if of every book I manage to read no more than a few pages. But those few pages already enclose for me whole universes, which I can never exhaust. And I don't think the point is the books, by the way.
No.
I think the point is agnostic to books. This is the point for me is you should allow yourself to, you don't have to finish the thing. Just, you can allow your mind to go.
Bro, but wandering is so special, you know. Again, in this world where there's so many kind of like black and white type, you know, situations where you have to kind of make, you know, two arguments. And so one of them is you need to have some type of routine and schedule, I think, to some extent, but you also need to have a lot of open space to be able to wander, right? But in that wandering space, there, on the other side, the scrolling side of the, you know, what we're speaking about, doom scrolling, let's say, is not what you want to do, because that's not part of wandering, you know what I mean? However, there are things that you can take for inspiration that can add to your wandering bucket, but having some space to wander, I've enjoyed that, by the way, about being in Dubai so much.
Yeah, how do you do that? Because I know you like to have space for that.
Just open schedule, man. I just first of all, like, I'm absolutely have no qualms about just saying I'm not interested in like a meeting or speaking or something. And I never mean it in offense, and I always try and say it in the most respectful way, but I like to understand the context of why someone needs my time during a working schedule, at least. Like, this is not personal time. Like, personal time, friends, family, that's all the time in the world. But in my working time, as much time as I can have to let my mind wander and to actually be able to step on curiosities and things, I want to do that. I basically am trying to take control of my mind in a way. So even recently, like I said, I bought when I started training, you know, a few months ago, and I bought an Ajman, we had to have a schedule. Literally the first day of us training, I woke up that morning, I said to my wife, I haven't had anxiety in so long, and I've got anxiety. Like, why am I feeling? I literally had a feeling of being anxious. And I realized because for the first time in over a year, I've committed to something regular. You know what I mean? Because the rest of it's just been free go time. But now I live for those mornings. It's like I need that. And then similarly now, when I brought on someone into my team, it was like, okay, well, that gave me a little bit of I need to control it. But now, hey, every Monday we have certain scheduled things, but I still have a lot of room for wandering. And so I've come to know that, okay, certain things that need to be like in certain buckets are like important, and important for other people, important for me, and then necessary because it gives me a level of like direction. But most of the week, man, I need just open space. Like, I can't just be, but that's where I think I get the most of the ideas come, and allows you to be receptive. So like the example of that, the book reading for me is, it's always been able to ingest information, because sometimes we get to ingest information from the world, like feedback from conversations we're having with people, or ideas. Like, you might see an announcement on YouTube for a tech product, wherever it is, and be like, go into this what if mindset. But the construct of your life and your commitments in your life, your schedule in your life, doesn't allow you to ever action anything. Like, you have to wait for that one holiday you might get, or that one weekend evening, at which point you're not even energized. But I want to create an environment, and what I strive to create is the ability to act when I feel excited, right? So I hear 2 weeks ago, Friday, not last Friday.
Have you read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin?
A little parts of it. I got given it as a gift, but I didn't read it. I'm terrible at reading books.
No, but listen to it or something.
Yeah, maybe I should.
This exact thing that you just said, he goes on, but go on.
Fine. I heard his podcast, so I do love the way he
In fact, his whole book is basically about this, wandering. But you know, you just said that you like to explore, if you feel excited by something, you want to explore instantly. That's his thing. His thing is basically that you have to allow your mind to have the space to let inspiration, because inspiration, he goes, you can't seek it to you. So you got to put yourself in a space where inspiration can come, because when it comes, you have to grab it and chase it, like sit on it.
Because the moment it happens, it's like, is that, and it's a moment, but also it's like, it's made up of so many unique things that make you. It's your taste, your experience of the world, things that you've seen, your reference points. It's like a visual mood board, an emotional mood board, a skill mood board. Everything aligns to make you feel that I can do that. Because if you're just removed of one of those things, you kind of have to go and find that thing now. And so what a fortunate thing to be able to experience the world and to have a palette that you're building up, and then be uniquely equipped to execute something based on your palette, right? Because no one else has that. It's like that toolbox thing. So 2 Fridays ago, when we're dealing with our community, we're seeing like, okay, there's some common threads of like questions that people are asking. There's a lot of different things that we want to prioritize. And it's like, okay, well, the time is finite, but we can execute many things and we can do them very well. And then Ollie had spoken to me about a few things. And over the weekend, I just my mind wasn't even actively thinking this is a task I need to think about. My mind was just like mulling, like, you know, throughout the weekend as I'm with the family. And then I just started thinking about, what if like, what if we could have a polling system? Maybe we could allow people to add their ideas and upvote them, whatever. By Monday morning, I've written so many. I had a haircut Monday morning, which I love doing. My haircut is like Monday mornings. Another part of the schedule that I recently added, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then I'm just sitting there, just writing notes on my phone about ideas for the week. And that morning, I had like a whole.
Your barber must hate you.
Oh yeah, no.
Like, stop moving your head. Yeah, no, but also it's like how much you like move your head.
But it was all about support, like how we want to deliver support to our community. And that Monday, then we had a call. I had a call with Ollie, and I said, "Hey, these are my ideas." And we just had this amazing brainstorming session for 2 hours. By 24 hours later, that feature was built. That's the power of AI. And I had to execute it. We got off the call. We shifted everything else that day. We moved calls. We shifted everything around because I need to have that flexibility to be able to move things. Moved it, executed that. By the end of the week, we've executed the second idea. And now this week, I'm working on the third idea. And that's, again, the example of like not knowing what's going to happen by the Friday on the Monday and the power of AI at the same time. And also the ability to execute fast on your ideas as you get inspired. So all of that can't happen without me having space to wonder. This afternoon is a great example. Like I know kind of what I'm working on. I know what I'm trying to do, but it's not like a task list of things. It's just a space I need to be in. And I know if I'm in that space, the job will get done, type of thing.
If you were born in an era where technology didn't exist, what do you think that you would be doing? Because you don't come across to me as like a manual labor guy, right? No. So like you use your brain for a lot of the stuff that you do. So, but technology seems to be a perfect fit for you. And of course, like the qadr of Allah is perfect and you were meant to be born when you were born and stuff. But if we think back to the times of coal miners and roof layers and bricklayers and manufacturers in factories, like what job do you think that would be suited to your personality and brain space?
What do you think? I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I think the easy cop out is to say that it will be something still creative, like a script writer for television or something. Well, I mean, let's say television exists, but like like a copywriter for adverts. You know, those posters where it's like America needs you. Like you'd be the guy written that.
But I think it definitely, if it was my spirit in a way, I think being.
Were you asking me what I thought I would be, or
what you thought, or even both ways? Have you thought about that question for yourself?
I think for me, I don't know if I'm being so arrogant here that I'm like the star of the show or something, but I think for me, I think of somebody like P.T. Barnum. He was in many things, a circus director, a marketer, essentially. He was the guy who helped.
Have you heard of Buster Moon?
No.
From Sing. Anyone know about Buster Moon?
What's Sing? Oh, like a children's movie thing.
Yeah, you're basically describing Buster Moon.
Fine, okay.
Yeah, but you should Google a
Is he
picture
the pig?
No, he's actually a... koala, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I've got a picture of him in my head. Yeah.
He has a quote which is the best thing about hitting rock bottom is that there's nowhere else to go, or something like that, which is like just a funny quote.
I think you showed me that.
Yeah,
before.
but we always say in our house, whenever I go to my wife and I'm like feeling crushed, she's like, the best thing about hitting rock bottom is that like it's only up from here.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing. It's a quote from a children's like movie.
Yeah. You know that story that I told in my TED talk about the lift, the elevator. What was it called? What was it?
Otis,
yeah. And so they had designed this elevator brake system. It had existed for years. Nobody was buying it. And then they managed to market it in a way where he stood on the top of this bridge and then he like cut the rope and then the elevator flew down, but then it stopped because of this amazing brake system. Then now Otis is still the leading manufacturer of lifts. The person who came up with that marketing strategy was P.T. Barnum.
Got it.
I'm not saying that marketer. He was a showman. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm a showman either, but I'm just saying like P.T. Barnum makes sense. Like he had like the freedom of thinking about things and stuff like that.
I think it's important. I don't think you should give caveats to things that you think you're great at. Like you should definitely, like you are a showman.
What do you think that your thing would be?
I don't actually know I have a best idea to it, but what I was going to say is from a perspective of if my spirit was in that world, I think it would have to be something that allowed me to be able to sort of wonder and to iterate in real time on something. I don't know what it could be. It could be various things. Maybe it could be, I don't know, building properties, cities, infrastructure. It could be anything. Like I'm not too sure. Like right now,
maybe like Ford. What's the guy
I don't wanna give that too much
what's his
credit,
name?
myself too much credit. Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the direct answer to that question. What I do know is I'm very grateful to be in the time we are right now, and
Yeah.
I finally feel like the sort of like technology, and Kareem says this to me often, is like caught up to like who I am, which I'm really, really fascinated by and enjoying, and I want to just live in that blissful zone as much as possible right now, and I want more and more people to feel that, because I think it's so phenomenal, like this time right now.
Well, to end, because I know you've only got 11 minutes left before we have to shoot. What time is Dhuhr? 6 minutes to, okay, calm on. All right. I'll try and make this point really quickly then. I think like one of the keys to your success, if looking at it from the outside in, is your...
By the way, if I just top you there, I still don't think I'm successful at all. Like just like in whatever way it's success, like the storyline in my head is like, I actually feel like I'm getting to it more now than before. But
I'm going to be successful. I'm going to get the door. No, but whatever success, anything positive that's happened. That's what I mean by success. I'm not adding a metric to it. So I think it has been your how important it is to you to question why of something. But I think it's double-barreled. I think half of it is how important it is for you to question why. But I think a lot of people, if they stop there, they go wrong, because that can also lead to arrogance. Like, oh, but why? Especially from an Islamic element. And I think, like, obviously we're a Muslim podcast. We haven't spoken about Islam much here, but I do want to add this in this bit. You question why. Islamically, that can sometimes be dangerous, because like sometimes like you have to hear and obey. And that's an important part of Islam. Although Islam is a religion of evidences and there is a reason for everything, it can be problematic to just be like, why? And I think like a lot of your success has actually come from saying, well, why not? Why? The schema thinks, like, well, why can't we just automate this? And then you've seen success on the other end of that. I think that's just, sincere to who you are. And I actually admire that about you, because you have this second part, which I think is really important. If you're going to have the personality where you're going to question why and question the way things work so you can like make them better, you have to have the second bit, which is that you have to also submit to when you get your answer. And I think like I admire that about you when it comes to even Islamically you have that same personality. It's in business and in your religion, where I often will speak to you about something or advise you on something Islamically, and you will say why. And you will say, I'm happy to follow it, but I need to know why. And the great thing is that we are Muslims and it's a religion of evidences, and so you can actually find out why. But this second part, which is important, is that you're willing to learn why. And there's been times, we spoke about before when like I was telling you about this particular thing, you said, well, can you put me in front of a sheikh and for him to explain it to me? And so we went and we traveled and we met this sheikh, and you asked him and he explained it, and then you said, okay, cool, I get it now. Yeah. I just wanted to know why. Yeah. I just wanted to understand it.
And sometimes I answer that question by kind of just doing the hear and obey, and then I feel it. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like it might take months sometimes, but I do the thing that I should be doing, and then I see a back end result of it.
I think that's the bit that's important, is that you do. You aren't just questioning why and then arrogant to your why. I don't need to. No. You ask why sincerely. You say actually why, and then when you get the answer, you do. You are sincere to the answer, and you will accept the answer. But you just like. Don't want someone to just tell you something without giving you a reason. And I think that's what's giving you business success. Because like if someone goes, oh no, things just don't work that way, you're like, hold on a second, why not? Like it seems like it could work that way, and then you've seen success. Whereas most of us would say, okay, podcasting is 2 mics, let's do 2 mics. Stephen Bartlett, perfect example. Podcasting 2 mics. Everyone has a mic. All of a sudden, he's put some Sennheisers above your head. You can't see a mic anymore. Still a successful podcast, but he removed the mics. And I think like sometimes you go, well, why do we need mics in front of us? It's actually quite annoying. The mic in the way. So you have to explain.
By the way, I know you got to go, but I'm very mindful that I just said to you to remind me about labels, and we never came back to it. And it's a bit like, when you copy something on a clipboard and you're trying to paste it, but your fingers almost holding it. Copy.
Release it, go on. Come on, V this, baby.
Come on, V. No, I was basically going to say, and this is a bit to Ibrahim's point earlier, having labels in some ways can be beneficial for storytelling, such as if you're the AI guy or whatever, like for people to be able to just say, hey, that's the guy for X.
Yes.
And I speak to Samir about this in terms of his directing. Like, when he has people know that he's the guy who directs and creates great visuals, it's so convenient to be in this world of noise as well, to be able to know that what that person is associated to.
Definitely.
That's where I think like sometimes having labels can be useful, but it has to be true to who you are.
Yeah, narratives and stories are very important. Narratives and stories.
But thank you, man, and I really enjoyed this. Man, it's such a
Likewise.
pleasure. I love doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, man, cool. Thank you so much for giving us your time, bro. Really appreciate it. All right, Omar Choudhry.